Well now, BBC One hurtles through space and time. Come with us for the trip of a lifetime. Aliens, you have been warned. Christopher Eccleston is the new Doctor Who.
Every year on this day, we celebrate the second coming of the first episode of Revival, Rose. But stuff that. It's time to answer this question. What if Christopher Eccleston had stayed on as the Doctor? It's hard to answer that question properly, isn't it? Eccleston did the one season, which was very self-contained and closed off by episode 13, due to the creators thinking that they wouldn't be able to get a second season going. But what if they did have the power to think towards a future with Russell still at the helm, with Chris staying on? Well, here's my idea of how it would have gone. Using coordinated choices and chances that Russell had but didn't take, such as having, the second Christopher season, and many others that will go along the way. So, enough dilly-dallying, let's move on to the plan. Most people would think that the core mechanics and the design behind Series 1 would drastically change if Eccleston had stayed on. To be honest, if he had, I would only think that the parting of the ways, his last episode, would change, where instead of the Doctor sacrificing himself to save Rose, she would actually allow the power of the heart of the TARDIS to go. Jack would also have to join with them, because I think only having him in 5 episodes of that season was criminal, to say the least. The last scene itself would imply that Rose would be dying, such as the fake ending from the end of the season was supposed to be before it got leaked. With this, we set up the character story of the Doctor, Rose and Jack for Series 2. The Doctor has to still give her the sense of enjoyment in travelling. Jack has to give her a big brother character to her and an extra pair of hands. The Doctor, since Rose is starting to become weaker. This is why I think this would be a better team than just having Ten and Rose in Series 2. With Series 2, changes would be in the air. With the 9th Doctor staying on for the second series, some episodes would have to change. Majorly, the Christmas invasion would have to change, since the whole episode is about Rose and the world having to deal with the Doctor being out for the whole episode. So the episode would have to be dealing with the Cigarettes being involved with Earth. I would think that the Doctor would not deal with us all, because that was more Tennant's thing, so I guess Eccleston would have to find a way to deal with the Cigarettes, possibly in a non-violent way. Maybe this could be in the same way as he dealt with the Emperor Dalek. New Earth would have to change due to the original episode being targeted towards Tennant's new Doctor, so with Eccleston there would be no new Doctor, but with Jack also being there, it would also mean that Cassandra could swap between the two of them. I would think Eccleston wouldn't want to do it due to, the silliness of the moment, as I think he would see that it is not as part of his Doctor, as that wasn't what he was probably wanted to do with the character. Also, yes, Jack and Bo would meet in the last scene, but he would be with Rose throughout the whole adventure. Tooth and Claw would lose a couple of things. Of course, the Doctor would not adopt a Scottish accent, but perhaps Queen Victoria would figure out that this Doctor had been related to the one that helped Charles Dickens in Cardiff in 1869, giving a reason to perhaps trust him at first, but then betray his trust at the end because of the adventure. Also, Jack would be Scottish in the episode to replace the Doctor's Scottish accent, to also represent John Barrowman's Scottish accent, and to be a nod to Jamie McCrimmon from the Second Doctor's era. Next up would be School Reunion, which would be the 9th Doctor's reunion with Sarah Jane. Now, due to Chris not being such a fan of the series, I would guess that this episode would be less fan-orientated, because with David being the fan, you could tell that some of the episode was definitely David portraying himself in as his Doctor, with how he was with Sarah Jane, and I guess this would be less prominent with Chris. Or perhaps Chris's Doctor would have been like David in some aspects, if perhaps Chris's Doctor had probably knew the character of Sarah Jane, or had admired Elizabeth Sladen as much as Tennant had. Now, of course, the team from Boomtown will be back, but unfortunately Mickey stays behind yet again, because he knows that the Doctor and Jack are doing a good job with Rose, yet he would not know the fact of her upcoming death. A major episode of change would be The Girl in the Fireplace, as that episode dealt with the relationship with the 10th Doctor had with Madame de Pompadour worked in that situation, as the Doctor was able to fall into the relationship. With the 9th Doctor, a Doctor who really isn't in love, as his successor is, it would have to possibly be more of a long-lasting friendship with Renette than its successor after defeating the menace of the Clockwork Droids. Then we come into the first two parts of the series, with Rise of the Cybermen and the Age of Steel, where the Doctor's team would encounter the parallel world and its batch of Cybermen. This would also be one of the biggest episodes to bring back elements from the first series, and we'd see Mickey, or Ricky, in the universe, as I'd guess that Jack would have stayed on the Bone Tree Peninsula in this episode and probably become evil, instead of the coward con man that we have in Series 1. But with Ricky's death, Jack would have wanted to stay with the creatures in this universe to help them after guessing that there'd be no Jack on Earth in this universe. And with that, the trio is gone. The Daily Slanter was originally written for the 9th Doctor in mind, as the writer Martin Gatiss did not know at the time that Chris Eccleston was going to be leaving. So I would guess that he would retain what Mark had written for the episode. I don't really have much to say, since there's really like a 9th Doctor version of the episode that exists, so I guess there'd be slight changes. I guess probably the 10 isms would have been removed in that. Next up is The Impossible Planet and Satan Pit, which would be the turning point to where the Doctor finally gives up and is sort of able to tell Rose that he sort of loves her, but is not fully clear and out of the open. Rose would really have to depend on the Doctor because of her illness, as the Beast or the Devil would really hate to play with her, as she would be more weak and more vulnerable to the Beast with her weaker body and her immune system. Now here's the one that I guess you'd think would be removed in this series, which would be Love and Monsters, which actually I would keep because I think Eccleston would want some time off, but this would probably be the episode where it would convince him to go during the season. I think that it'd be a little less silly with Eccleston being around, but the humour and the fun side of the episode would probably stay due to everybody else in the episode not being around him, and his Doctor being this episode is Dr. Light. Okay, time for the episode that would properly go, which would be Fear Her, which I would guide that Eccleston would never do. Replacing Fear Her would be Stephen Fry's 1920 story that was supposed to be in the series before it was found to be too expensive. I think with Eccleston this would have been another Gratian's era, like The Empty Child or The Doctor Dances. I have a title for this episode, and I think it would have been like The Roaring Revolution. Perhaps this would have been kind of a Rose or a Series 2, but this would depend on the ideas and whatnot of what Stephen Fry had wanted to do with the episode. With the finale, Army of Ghosts would begin with Mickey bringing the Doctor and Rose back, who's hiding a weak state to Mickey. The sightings of ghosts disrupting him, possibly with one of them being a ghost of his mother, who died before he was able to move house to be closer to Rose, which would give him a thing to make it real. With this, he would have accompanied them to torture them. The Doctor would have taken them in, but Rose would have wandered off to the sphere room to find Jack, working as Adam Mitchell. The way that the Doctor would regenerate would be due to battle scars in the battle against the Daleks and Cybermen, as he would try to grab the anti-clamps to get him and Rose on the same side of the void, and not to get sucked into the parallel universe. Of course, Rose would fall in and perish. Jack would start tortured in the proper universe in memory of Rose, and the Doctor would die or regenerate in the TARDIS. And out steps David Tennant and Catherine Tate-Donna, who's just arrived at the wrong time. Anyways, that is my video for the 15th anniversary of Rose and the new series overall. You know, looking back, Chris sort of left at the right time. His first in all his series gave us 13 episodes full of fun, suspense and adventure with a companion that could understand the show and the universe with, and a Doctor who from start to finish was able to give himself enough time to give us a complete character arc. If Chris ever wants to return, then I'd be absolutely fine with that. But here could have been a chance where he could have had a second try, bring us along with the ride, and I think it would have been fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And do you know what? So was Chris.